Happy Easter, happy Good Friday. So I remember when lockdown came and it was just before Easter, and when I realised that Easter was coming and Easter was going to be online, like all churches needed to just go online, the thought of the internet just being flooded with like that news of the fact that no matter what you have done in your life, you are loved more than you can imagine. Anything that you've been done has been taken. Even the things that you didn't even realise might have hurt somebody or might have caused harm in some way. Every single thing, or every intentional thing, every single thing has been taken and has been replaced with a love that can't be provided through anything else or anyone else. So I was really excited. Anyway, I have been reluctant to go to church for quite a while, and I just feel like I want to share Easter. So I'm doing a longer version, and I'm doing like on YouTube, and then I'll just cut it down to do a short version on Instagram. So I wrote a book, I think it was last year, and it was just about my life, and I have done like part 1 that you can buy as a PDF on the website, but I've also been writing like parts 2 and 3. I'm not sure which part this is in. It's in 2 or 3, but I thought I'd just read this because it helps. So I'd just written about something else, and then I said, another way God moves, another way that I know he does not care if he embarrasses you. We went to Wildfires Festival a few years ago. I loved it and will definitely go back when I'm back earning money. The kids were nervous, and I became the parent called out of the main tent to pick their inconsolable child up on a couple occasions. We'd taken Mum, and I'd asked Matt to come in case the kids were too nervous to join anything, so that me and Mum could listen to some talks and worship. So one evening, Matt kept the kids in the place that we were staying, while me and Mum went to the evening worship and talk. I knew from the moment that we walked in that God wanted me to go to the front if people were called up for prayer. And I was resistant from that very moment. Throughout the talk, I felt a fire burning in me. Everything the guy said resonated with me, and I knew God was trying to move me. But I kept saying, God, I really don't want to. There are so many people here. Sure enough, people were called to the front, and in an instant, the girl in front of me, who I'd never met and I don't think I even said hi to when we sat down, turned around, looked directly at me and said, come on, we'll go together. The people pleaser in me instantly replied, okay. So I followed this girl to the front, telling myself I'll wait a couple minutes, then politely sneak back to my chair. I stood at the front, closed my eyes, then realised that my hands were rising up on their own. As if someone had tied helium balloons to them, they just slowly floated right up to the top, right above my head. Like, as a little visual, I'm talking like this. Both hands, though. The next thing I noticed was someone touching the middle of my palms with their fingers. My eyes stayed closed, and my hands stayed above my head. And this guy said, you're a healer. God is going to use your hands to heal broken people. You don't need to do a lot of hard work. It's in you. God is already working. I started crying, like ugly crying, uncontrollable crying, snot dripping down my face, crying, while my hands were stuck above my head. This guy continued, there are young children around you. They've been broken, been hurt, and your hands will heal them through your hope and your joy. Hence where Skylark Hope and Joy comes from, like the website that I've got, the business that I want to run. More children will come. You will heal these broken children. There's been a darkness, a sadness that's taken your joy. At this point, I was just a mess. My uncle had died about 6 months before this, and he died before I'd had the chance to say goodbye. I'd driven to Cardiff to organise fast passports for me and the kids to fly out to America to see him, and the day I was booking the flights, my auntie rang to say he'd gone. And then I included some pictures. I have no idea if you can see these. My screen is super dirty as well. I felt crushed at Baz's death. I absolutely adored him, and I felt so angry at God that he didn't let me have one last hug. Baz gave the best bear hugs, and I just wanted to squeeze him tight and tell him exactly how much I loved him. It's 3.5 years later while I'm writing this. It might be 4.5 now, I'm not sure. And I still feel parts of anger towards God and a deep sadness on the life I dreamed of having. Baz was jolly, jokey, fun. I wanted that for me and the kids, wanted to bump into him in the street, wanted random fishing trips, wanted bear hugs. I just wanted him here. That darkness that this guy, I later learned he was called Simon, was telling me about, the darkness that had taken my joy, I felt that. I felt it so deeply. I knew I was different after Baz died. I knew I hadn't felt a level of joy that I previously had. I felt that darkness in everything I did. That darkness had knocked me to a point where I didn't know how to find joy again. I would think, how can I? Baz isn't here and there's nothing good about that. I felt like I had no way of moving forward. I was stuck now. I didn't want to move forward, but I had plans in the mental health world. I've always had big dreams and I was always taking steps forward towards their reality, but this time I couldn't. I just stopped. I felt like I wasn't able to, like I wasn't enough anymore. So, in that moment at Wildfires, with my eyes still closed and a total stranger stood directly in front of me as he watched tears and snot pour down my face, I just slowly nodded. Simon paused for a moment. Then he said, "You need to speak life. You need to speak truth." Abraham, a guy in the Bible, had his name changed from Abram. He had to introduce himself as Abraham, which means father of many, but he had no children. You need to speak your plans into life. God's hand is already on you and working through you. I felt a huge sense of comfort and strength as Simon spoke. I had no idea what God was going to speak to the most painful part of me and to embarrass me. But with my hands fully in the air, with me having no control over them, I was forced into fully surrendering while God whispered hope and life to the parts of me that felt dark and broken. I opened my eyes shortly after this, looked at Simon. My hands were finally able to come back down, so I wiped my face with my sleeve, as you do when you're meeting someone new. I apologised for the snotty mess and thanked him on repeat for allowing God to speak to me through him. I slowly walked back to my seat, still a bit dazed by what just happened. So when I got to my seat, I closed my eyes and I held my hands out, like this. There was worship music playing, so I stood with my hands in front of me, palms facing up and eyes closed again. In this moment, I saw perfect holes in the palms of my hands. Clear fluid began to flow out from them, down to my elbows, with the phrase repeating in my head, "I have washed you clean." So, sometimes, the pain in life holds us back to the point where we feel stuck. I have always struggled to feel forgiven by God because I feel like I mess up too many times, like I annoy too many people and I just continually make the wrong decisions. Seeing, in my mind, these holes in my hands and this liquid washing me was a powerful reminder that God is bigger than my thoughts, bigger than my actions, bigger than my emotions, and more powerful than anything on this earth. I needed to receive forgiveness, not just for myself, but for my family, for my plans, for my future, and all that it holds. So, I just wanted to share that because I think for a lot of people, God is just, sorry, I need to swap hands. God is like a, is he real, is he not real thing. And for me, that just hasn't been the case for a long time. I've known God like since I was little. There was like another story in there, but I think it's in part 1. Anyway, doesn't matter. The things that I kind of struggle with is just like the daily life. Like, God, why have you allowed this? Why has this happened? Like, those kind of things are the things that get me. And And I just wanted to share that story because seeing those holes in my hands, it was so clean. Like my hands were like, I want to say perfect. I just mean like fully moisturized. I mean like as nice as your hands can be. And these holes were literally just perfect holes in the middle of them, in the middle of both palms. And it was just like, it wasn't like water. It was like water, but it wasn't like water. And it was literally just washing over, like dripping down, just with that on repeat of, I have washed you clean. So I want to just say to anybody else, if you're struggling because you think you've messed up too many times, or maybe you've done something that you feel is too big, or you think you have to go to church to know God, or you think that you have to be a good person to know God, none of that is true. God meets you where you are at. He created you. He knows why he wanted you on this earth, and he wants to meet you where and when you're ready to meet him. So you just turn around and be like, okay, let's give this a go. Like, if you're there, hello, I will do what I can. I'm going to try and listen. And I think going to church has its purpose sometimes. But just remember that church people are humans. There's a lot of everything. There's a lot of everything that you don't want, like judgments, opinions forced on you sometimes, and that's just not what God's about. So yes, find your people. Yes, find people that you can pray with, that you can be with. You don't need people to pray with you. You don't need anything. You and God is good. But having people around you can be really rewarding. You can really see the good in humanity sometimes. It just doesn't, I think for some people, there can be this dramatic change. For you, there might be a big dramatic change, and for others, there's not. There's just like a slowly stepping with God. And then you realize that these little coincidences happen. Like somebody will say something or somebody will do something. You'll be like, oh, that's weird because I was thinking about that, or I was going to do that. Or you'll have a thought in your head of like, hang on, just turn down. Like a few times I've had, instead of going the way I was going, just turn down this way actually. And there will be somebody down there that was either struggling or that I just bumped into, and we just had like a conversation that I just would never have expected to happen. So little things like that happen, and you realize over time, for me, I realized over time that I am just part of a much bigger plan. I am so valuable to God, so loved. Like literally every single person that has been born is so valuable to God. But we literally just form part of this big thing. And when you step into that, when you completely surrender to that, something shifts inside you, and you just have a hope. You have something there. And it's not to say, like, life does not, from everything I share, life does not suddenly become easy. But when you're known, when you're loved, when you feel like you belong, suddenly the bottom kind of has like a bit of a cushion. You still hit the bottom hard sometimes, but then God is literally, it's like Jesus has just sat there cross-legged like, hey, like I've wanted to help you for a while now. Can we do this together? So yeah, I want to pray because prayer is powerful. And actually, I said something to my mum the other day. I don't think I've got it on me. I'm on Matt's phone. And I'll see if I can remember what I said. Basically, I was reading through Matthew in the Bible. Oh, I could just read it. Wait. So we've got lots of different versions of Bibles in our house, and I can't remember what one I was reading the other day, but I'll see if I could find it. This is a quick side note. My bottom line, the bottom line in the Bible, is God is love. And I think there can be a lot of hatred put out by Christians, which is crazy. And also a lot of Christians hate Christians. It's weird. I don't understand it. That's why I take myself away. And I have people around me that are loving. But people often think when they find out that I know God, they'll think like they won't want to tell me some stuff. Like they won't want to tell me if they're gay or if they've divorced. And I am not here to judge. I'm literally not here to judge anybody. I mean, you might be surprised by some of the things that I tell you. But yeah, my bottom line for God is love. And my bottom line for me is I'm here to love. Anyway, I'm going to try and find this. Oh, here. Oh no, that's not it. Also, actually, while I'm thinking about it, I read a lot of books. I absolutely love to read. There's a lot of people, I read their books, and I love some of the things that they say, and I just don't have the same opinion on some of the things they say. And I think personally that it's crazy to throw someone out because of that you don't agree with everything they're saying. So any books that I recommend, any books that I share, please don't think that I agree with every single thing they say. For me, there's just been like nuggets of goodness in amongst that. Just know I'm here to accept and love everybody. I cannot find it. Oh, it was right at the beginning. It was right where I just shared it. Okay, so it's Matthew 17, by the way, if you wanted it. So initially, let me just try and give you a quick background. I don't know if you can hear that, kids are playing Monopoly. Right. So Jesus had just come back down from a mountain? Yeah, come down from a mountain with Peter, James and John, three of his disciples. It says, when they returned to the crowd, a man came to Jesus, knelt before him and said, Sir, have mercy on my son. He's an epileptic and has such terrible fits that he often falls into the fire or into water. I brought him to your disciples, but they could not heal him. Jesus answered, how unbelieving and wrong you people are. How long must I stay with you? How long do I have to put up with you? Bring the boy here to me. Jesus gave a command to the demon, and it went out of the boy, and at that very moment he was healed. Then the disciples came to Jesus in private and asked him, why couldn't we drive the demon out? It was because you haven't enough faith, answered Jesus. I assure you that if you have faith as big as a mustard seed, you could say to this hill, go from here to there, and it will go. You could do anything. And when I read this the other day, I thought about how much fear we have in terms of when we're around people. Fear of looking stupid, fear of something not happening, fear of happening. Sorry. A fear of not having control or not knowing whether God is going to do what you think or you want or you hope he's going to do. So that holds you back. And I think I'm sure it's something like 365 times in the Bible it says something along the lines of do not fear. So like, do not be afraid or fear not or something like that. But the principle is not to fear. And I think it's because we don't understand the impact that we have in like a spiritual realm. And I don't want to get too like confusing, because to me, like, knowing God it's like simple and complex at the same time. But for me, there's just like heaven isn't this far off place. There's a world that we are surrounded by. It says in another part of the Bible it's talking about, I don't know this for sure. I think it's Elijah, a prophet, and Elisha, his kind of like right-hand man. And at one point they were surrounded. It might not be them, by the way, just don't quote me on it. Anyway, two people, they were surrounded by an army that come to attack them. And their army was like nothing compared to this one that was coming to them. And so the prophet I'm gonna say Elijah, prayed and said to God, God, open his eyes, like for his right hand man, like open his eyes, let him see. And then it says in that moment, I'm gonna say Elisha, but the right hand man's eyes, right hand man's eyes were opened. I don't know if any of this is making sense to you. I'm going to try and make this less complicated. So I'm just going to say Elijah and it's not Elijah and Elisha. That's just complicated in itself because they're so similar. Anyway, the prophet said about his right hand man, said to God, God, open his eyes, let him see. And in that moment, his eyes were opened and he saw what could be described as angels, basically an army of their own surrounding them, like literally all around everything. And the army that he saw in this other realm was magnified compared to the army that had come. Like the physical army that was in front of them was now nothing compared to what was literally surrounding them. And so this is what I try and walk through life remembering, is that if I pray for somebody, if I ask for something, if I for myself, for anything, and it's not happening, there is another world. And there's another place that it says in the Bible, like it says to someone specific actually, like what you bound on earth will be bound in heaven, what you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. But basically we have an impact that we don't see with our eyes, with our physical eyes. But there is more to life. And this is what I mean about, like, when you start walking with God, these little coincidences that happen, suddenly a certain person will come here, or a certain thing, or you'll notice something. Everything will just make sense to you. Things will just drop into place. And you just don't want to miss it. I don't want you to miss it. I don't want you to think God is going to church. I don't want you to think God is being a good person. Like, yes, you naturally want to be a good person, but that's not a requirement. God wants to meet you where you're at, and he wants to change you. When you allow him to change your heart, to change your thoughts, to change everything about you, you naturally become kinder anyway, more loving. Just don't miss out. Don't miss out on what you could have, on the life that you could have. And just remember that forgiveness is for everybody. Anyway, I am going to leave you with a little video I took of Lola this morning. She's just been learning a song just because she enjoys playing. You know, like those on YouTube you can play the piano, but it's just like it's not like notes. You don't have to read the notes. She does Duolingo, so she's learning the notes anyway, but that's irrelevant. This song that she's doing, like the note comes down and then you press it. And I'm just going to leave it with you. And my prayer is that when you're listening to it, you feel God. I ask God now that he just shows his presence to you. And I want you to stop hiding, and I want you to stop walking away, and I want you to have the courage and the humility to go, okay, God, let's do this. So anyway, tell me if this helps, or if it doesn't. I'm here for any feedback. And I hope you have a good day.